Remember in the Bible when they told you that Moses led them out of Egypt, the Israelites? And we know who the Israelites is. The Israel, because a lot of people, black people and Latinos keep thinking we the Hebrew Israelites. We ain't no fucking Hebrew Israelites. You know why? Because Israel, where did he get his name? What was Israel's real name? His real name was Jacob. And then he wrestled with an angel and became Israel. Jacob represents Yakub. There were no Y's, so they put J's. Alright? I told y'all that Yakub's other name is Satan, Zeus. Alright? I told y'all that they spliced the black and brown germ to create these human beings.
Stop it. Get some help.
They tell you about Jacob separating the flocks. Let's pull it up. Jacob separating the flocks in the story of Genesis. In the Genesis story. Okay? Let's look at what the flocks were. This is all symbolic of Yakub splicing their genetics on Nern. Okay? They put the story in Genesis and called him Jacob. They took the Y out of his name. Alright? Jacob set apart the young flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. Jacob separated those lambs from Laban's flock. Okay? Now, hold on. How did Jacob separate the flock? He separated the dark from the white. That's how he separated the flocks. This is how Jacob separated the flocks. Okay? Now, so I showed that real quick. We can continue. Alright, so Jacob separated the flocks. Okay? So let me go back to where we was at about the winter solstice, and we talked about the 40th night, right? Alright, so in the biblical part in Genesis, when they talk about Jacob separating the flocks, remember there were no J's back then. His real name was Yakub. That's only telling you the story about when I told y'all how Yakub, Satan, Zeus, same person, he spliced the cell. And by splicing the cells within our goddesses, he removed the mitochondria and discovered two germs, or black and the brown germ, and he spliced those germs and discovered by getting to the nucleus that there were 48 different variations of the shade black, 16 shades of black, 16 different shades of brown, and 16 different shades of yellow that exist inside the mitochondrial DNA, which is inside the nucleus and the membrane that's inside our cells. He spliced the cell, and by splicing the cells within our goddesses, he removed the mitochondria and discovered two germs, or black and the brown germ, and he spliced those germs and discovered by getting to the nucleus that there were 48 different variations of the shade black, 16 shades of black, 16 different shades of brown, and 16 different shades of yellow that exist inside the mitochondrial DNA, which is inside the nucleus and the membrane that's inside our cells.
But how would you support yourself, Mr. Bates, considering that your reading comprehension has gone down every year since you've been in prison?
A very vaginative proposition, my man. That is to say, prostitution pertaining to the cotex, you understand, of the argument. I myself have imminentized my liquidation, therefore, ergo, i.e., that is the instigation, which is excessive cleavage, shall we say. So, let me clarify, or, excuse me, clitify. In other words, I'd probably teach. Man, that is to say, prostitution pertaining to the cotex, you understand, of the argument. I myself have imminentized my liquidation, therefore, ergo, i.e., that is the instigation, which is excessive cleavage, shall we say.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Harecha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this ministry of this faith, and shalom to the elect. I want to touch on this video here. It just seems that every time we turn around, it's a new doctrine. I don't know if this is a new doctrine or old doctrine. Someone came on my comment board quite a few times on videos I've done, even at camp, and they was speaking of the Yakub, right? This is why Titus 1:11 says they subvert whole houses. Basically, I'm just paraphrasing. They subvert whole houses whose mouths must be stopped, teaching of things that they are not for Satan's sake, well, for filthy lucre's sake. You know, so I don't know where these weird doctrines come from, and I don't even know where to begin in this video. But what I do know, he doesn't know anything about DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. He doesn't, and I'm no scientist either, but from us doing research and reading, we kind of understand, right? So it's just weird. You know, I don't know if Yakub he's trying to link it to Yakub, or Jacob's name. I don't know. But what I did do is I looked it up. Yakub is like a Nation of Islam deity, right? This is what I found out. It says Yakub is sparked Yakub or Yakub, right? And that, you know, their languages is kind of similar to the Hebrew, right? They have a variation of the language similarities, like salam, we say shalom, a khan, you know. Anyway, it says Yakub is figurative mythology of the Nation of Islam, according to the Nation of Islam doctrine. Yakub was a black scientist who lived 6,600 years ago and began the creation of the white race, right? This tells you that, you know, these people who are Muslims, or the Nation of Islam, and mainly that group of Farad Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, they'll carry that they'll carry the Quran, and then they'll carry the Bible, right, along with it. It says, through the form of selective breeding, referred to as grafting, while he was living on the island of Patmos. So now this is John the Revelator or something? I don't know where to begin with this. This is weird. The story was throughout a history caused disputes within the Nation of Islam. The story was originated in the writings of the Nation of Islam founder Wallace Fard Muhammad, who was a white man himself, but I don't know, but was rejected by some of the later leaders. Now, just because somebody white doesn't mean that they're heathen, you know. Under the current leader, Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam continues to assert that story of Yakub is true. So this guy is really of the Nation of Islam. So this is weird. I've never had to do a video like that. Then he said something about Jacob was from Satan's bloodline. And then he said Jacob wrestled with the angels and we were the angels. But so Jacob was Satan? I don't know. We'll read something on this. I don't know. Let's go into the story with the angel. This is Genesis 32 and 24. It says, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, right, as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob, right? And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. Now, why was his name be called Israel? So he made this great separation, right? It says, for as a prince that has power with Yahweh and with men and has prevailed. It says he prevailed. I have no idea what this guy's talking about. So Jacob name was changed to the Prince of Power. That's it. It's weird. It's weird. It's very weird. This is Sirach 25 and 13. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, which is the mind. This guy clearly is off of meds, or he's in some type of, he understands, maybe he read the Bible, he went in some other location of doctrine, but you can clearly see that this man is not all the way together, right? He's got no shirt on, he's sitting there, and he's talking about Yakub. I believe I heard one of the Muslims tell me this some years back, and I didn't have any understanding. This is before I even came into the truth, that he was talking about Yakub, and then I didn't have no idea that it was the splicing of the genes and separating color from man. And then, anyway, let's go to Genesis 25 and 25. It says, and when the days was delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. This is going to the story of Isaac and Rebekah, who had Jacob and Esau, when we go back, right? All over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came out his brother, and he took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. So now, the reason why we say who Esau is, because it means wasted away, right? When you go to the text, they'll say ruddy, but in Genesis 25, it never said ruddy, because ruddy just means beautiful complexion, right? So when you go into the stories of Exodus and the story of Numbers 12 with Miriam, right? Genesis 4 even, you had situations where the Lord did the splicing through genetics, right? That's why he said, let's go to 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations, right, are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So that's the key. That's where you get Edom and you get Jacob. This is where you get the differences in the extreme complexion, right? Because the red and the blood shows through the skin, right? That's the Lord did that. Ain't no Yakub, some big-headed Yakub did that, man. And then he went into, I'm not even going to go in there, the separating of the sheep. But let's go to Genesis. This is a weird doctrine, man. Genesis 30 and 40. And Jacob did separate the lambs and set the faces of the flocks forward, right? The ring straight, right? And all the brown in the flock of Laban, and put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Jacob's cattle. Right? So let's read a little commentary on that real quick. Or I'll just read, I don't want to make this long. Laban, Aramaic, Hebrew, it says, known as Laban, the Aramean, book of Genesis, Hebrew Bible, is the brother of Rebekah, the woman who married Isaac and bore Jacob. First, I just want to say the fact that story had nothing to do with splitting genetics. I guess he equated, of people, the sheep as people, and being split, that having a DNA split. First of all, understanding mitochondria DNA, Mitochondria DNA is of the woman. He's going into the nucleus, the center of the cell, and that's what the woman passes on. First of all, you have with the Y, X, in which the man pretty much shows the difference of both. But that Y chromosome is the chromosome of the patriarch. You know, this is where, let me read this real quick, because the Y chromosome is what determines a son, right? And the woman gets her X, or her chromosome, or her DNA, still from the father. This is why the woman she just has I believe the X, and the father has the X, the Y and the X. So that's how you determine what the child is going to be, through the father. So right there in his flawed doctrine, it's not determined by the mother. Everything is of the father. So he quoted mitochondria, DNA, and the leftover of matter. This is how they determine your DNA as a woman. You know, if you belong to a mother, right? Even if they go to the son, to the mother, but the genetics is of the father. So anyway, and the father have both the X and Y. It says here, the DNA, the Y chromosome, is passed from the father to the son along, right, an all male line. The Y chromosome is a thread-like structure that contains genetic instruction for every person, and more than 95% of genes that are unique to males. So what is he talking about mitochondria for? That's weird. You're going to talk about splitting genes. So this even proves, let's say this was the case, and Yakub did this under the woman. It doesn't matter, it's of the father that matters, right? That's what matters. The Lord sent the son. He didn't send the daughter. He sprang out of Judah. That was the order. I don't know. This is weird. It provides genetic history of a man's paternal ancestral line and is passed from father to son, which is successive generation of males. So when these people do these DNA tests, and these women doing all these DNA tests, they lost, right? They would have to go by the Y chromosome. They can go by the mitochondria, the X, but that doesn't mean anything. It does mean the fact that you came from, you came out of your mother, but from your genetic lines concerned, no, you're from the father. That's what matters. So I have no idea why this man is talking about the mitochondria got split or something like that. This is a very, very weird doctrine. This is going to happen, so this is what we do. Then it says, Deuteronomy 28:28, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. If anybody's thinking of some weird doctrine or teaching some weird doctrine like that, they're smitten with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.